people pleasing is a valuable trait. The trait of being a people pleaser is needed in communities to keep families together. You're basically putting your own needs to the side for maybe a greater mission or so that you can get along with those around you. And there are levels to it. There are people who people please because they like to see other people happy. They like to get along. They value the peace in the community, and confrontation is uncomfortable for them. Some people please out of trauma because they had to deal with a narcissist in their life, or they just had a very traumatic childhood. Maybe at one point they did stand up for whatever they wanted and they got traumatized or punished for that. So they learned to suppress themselves. They learned that it's better to go along to get along. If people pleasing didn't exist, nothing would get done. Everyone would just have their own agenda. It would be harder to have community. People pleasing is necessary to have agreement. Agreement is necessary to get stuff done. People pleasing exists for humanity to move in a certain direction together, but that requires a certain level of self-forgetfulness. It's one thing to like to see other people happy and love for your family and your friends and your community to get together, but it's another thing where it's so extreme that you self-forget and you become out of touch with what you want and your desires. What is your agenda? The group matters, but you as an individual also matter. People pleasing requires you to become so invested in what the group is thinking and where the group is going that you forget what you actually want, that you suppress yourself. Without people pleasing, almost nothing would get done. The world would be almost useless. People-pleasing behavior is also motivated by approval and acceptance. They just want to be included in the group and they just want the group to get along. On the flip side, if you're a people pleaser, you can be seen as fake. You ignore your internal compass to get along with people. People pleasing requires you to do a lot of pretending. Like, do you actually like the person that you're talking to? Some view people pleasers as being fake because they see you smile in that person's face, then turn around and say nasty things about them. There is a whole spectrum of this trait, and it could be benign and it could be extreme. Some would also say that when you're a people pleaser, you're just not loyal to anyone. In the face of conflict, you're not going to stand up for your friend because you don't like disagreement. When it comes down to it, are you really going to put your foot down when it matters the most? Will you stand on what you actually believe if everyone else disagrees with that opinion? I think that there is a place for agreement and there is a place for disagreement. Personally, I hate when a person just wants to please me and then they just end up saying whatever niceties they need to say in front of my face, but then they end up doing something else behind my back or end up acting totally different. Like you ask a friend to do something for you and they say, yeah, I'll get that done. And then they never get it done. It kind of seems like they just lied. Whereas they could have just said, hey, I don't have time for that. I have my hands full with other things. I was actually strongly against this people-pleasing trait, but then I did some research about it. And the research I did actually gave me compassion and understanding for why people please. Even though it kind of feels like sometimes the person is just straight up lying to your face and not telling you how you really feel and kind of wasting your time. Depending on the person, some people are just so traumatized that they are out of touch with themselves, or they're just afraid of conflict. They're afraid to not be on the same page with you. I get really annoyed when people tell me things that they don't actually mean. It baffles me when I see people talk nasty behind each other's backs, but then want to have group get-togethers with the same people you were talking about. And then if someone chooses not to participate because they know how you talk about them, then it's a problem. It's like, is it really that bad that that person is in tune with themselves, they know their standards, they know how they feel, they're not gonna tolerate certain behaviors. Personally, if I know people have been talking behind my back, I keep a certain amount of distance. I don't have a strong desire for inclusion. I like authentic connection. That means whoever I consider my friend, they're going to defend me whether I'm in the room or outside of the room. And if that person is the type to just like talk bad about me when I'm not in the room to other people, then they cannot have my loyalty. Recently, I met this guy. We bumped into each other twice, and both times we talked, and he was talking me up. He was like, we should hang out. We can talk later. I'll stop by. We should go out to this and that place. And I asked him, hey, are you sure you mean what you say, or are you just being nice? I told him, don't say things that you don't mean. This person ended up having bad follow through. He ended up being wishy-washy, and he ended up straight up lying to me about the things that he said that he was gonna do. It was so deceptive, and then I had to block him. Not saying how you really feel causes more drama and anger and irritation than just speaking up for yourself and standing in your truth. And I know that people pleasing is kind of the trait of togetherness in a way, where no matter what each person has going on, no matter how you feel, you still come together and we can still have a good time. But people who are very much in touch with themselves are gonna look at you like, why do you guys all hate each other and you're still hanging out with each other? Like, what is going on? You are not a bad person for saying no. When you say no, you're saying no to whatever's not for you. You are refining the things that you allow in your life. When you say no, you are saying yes to the things that you are truly aligned with. And that's ultimately gonna lead to more comfort in your life. Because when you say yes to things that you don't wanna do, that's taking your time, that's taking your energy. You're probably gonna end up resenting the person if you really don't want to do what you're doing, and that might cause you to act in passive-aggressive ways towards the person. If you are afraid of confrontation, it's gonna lead to more pain in the long run. Whatever is inside you, whether that's offenses, your thoughts and opinion, they want to be expressed, and when you don't express it, it's gonna come out some way, somehow. And you don't want it to come out in passive-aggressive ways in the community and in the family that you want to have an agreeable atmosphere with, or nature, or just an agreeable space. Realize that conflict and disagreement is a healthy, necessary part of life. The only people who are gonna be upset at you saying no or disagreeing with you are the people who have no sense of boundaries. Yes, you may upset those people. You are making a way. You're opening a path to welcome the people in your life that will respect your boundaries, that does hold space for you saying no, that does respect you enough as a person to let you have your wants and your desires and your feelings, and they respect your voice being heard. They respect you speaking up, and that's what you want in your life. You want something healthy. You don't want to feel oppressed in your relationship. You don't want to feel oppressed in your relationships. While putting your needs aside and being helpful to others is necessary in some scenarios, we all need balance in our lives. If you abandon yourself, she's gonna be crying out to you, she or he. Your inner child that wants to be heard, that wants to be tended to, that wants to own his or her truth is going to be crying out to you. You may feel at your best when you're complying with others, but too much self-neglect is going to come out through negative energy some way, somehow. It's kind of like when someone offends you and you didn't tell them, you didn't speak to them. You could have had a healthy conversation with them right then and there. confronting the problem together in a respectful way. But instead, we harbor it. And then it's growing and it's growing, and that person's offending you more and more, and you still haven't spoken about it, and your hate for them and your discomfort is just growing until you either feel so uncomfortable being around them, or in the worst case scenario, you explode in the worst way. Your feelings want to come out. It needs to be spoken about. Don't trap negative energy inside of your body. Conversations need to be had. Conflict is a good thing. Conflict leads to solutions. Conflict is saying, how can we move forward in a way that will work for the both of us? Conflict is resolution, and that is why it's so important to embrace conflict and those uncomfortable conversations, because in the long run, you'll have less pain. It's uncomfortable in the moment, but once you have that conversation, it's easier to move forward peacefully, respecting each other's boundaries, and knowing what works for both parties. Next time someone's asking you to do something that you don't want to do, or you feel the urge to offer something when you know you have no intention of doing it, or you don't even have the time, next time you're about to do something that you're not even aligned with, pause and check how you actually feel. Pay attention to in here. Pay attention to your feelings. What is your soul telling you? If you're not sure in the moment, you can buy yourself some time. Don't give immediate answers. Say, hey, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. Need some time to consider what you're saying? I'll give you the answer at a later date, maybe in a couple days. Learn to set boundaries and do things that's in accordance of what is reasonable to you. And please express your feelings before it builds up and damage your relationships. If someone is sharing their opinions with you and you don't really agree, don't just say yeah and start playing into whatever they're saying. You can tell them we can agree to disagree, or you can always find a way to change the topic, or you can joke it off, but don't sacrifice your integrity. Love yourself enough to respect your feelings and be selective about who or what you choose to put before yourself. If you're gonna stop being a people pleaser, and if you're gonna start saying no, you have to have the courage to be disliked. It's not the end of the world if someone dislikes you. There are millions of people in your country. Some people are gonna dislike you no matter what you do or say. Some people are gonna dislike you for just existing. If you're gonna be disliked, at least make it because you're being true to yourself and your own feelings. At least make it because you stand on your truth, you love yourself, you stand up for yourself, and you're your biggest cheerleader, and not because you just want to fit in with people who are just going to come and go in your life. You're always with yourself, but people are going to be constantly coming and going throughout your life, and you're the one person you have to live with, and you have to do right by yourself. When you stand on what you believe, you're willing to make others upset. Some people are going to misunderstand you. Some people are going to exclude you. And it's up to you to decide what is worth fighting for. Maybe what is most important to you is being in that group. But just make sure you don't betray your friends in the name of just being included. Don't talk bad about your friend because someone is talking bad about them and you just want to agree. No, actually show some loyalty, show some integrity, have some non-negotiables on what you're willing to cave on and what you're gonna stand firm on. I think some people can find it hard to get close to someone who is a strong people pleaser. They may be worried that that person isn't gonna show loyalty to them, that that person isn't gonna get down and dirty for them, because some people pleasers are most concerned with being comfortable and being liked. And when you try to be liked by everyone, you try to minimize your enemies. But in almost completely minimizing your enemies, who is your loyalty to? Because there is love and there is war, and you have to fight for what you love at times. Are you willing to stand your ground on the things that matters to you? And I just want to say, most people deal with people pleasing at one point or another, or just to some extent in their life, because a lot of us care about getting along. A lot of us care about community, but it's up to us to have balance. Don't be so selfish that you don't show love or sacrifice to anyone in your life. And don't be so people-pleasing that you completely abandon yourself and talk behind everyone's back because you're passive-aggressive and you don't really express what's inside of yourself. Like, let's just have balance. Can we please have some balance? But that is my video for today. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.